Howdy, friend. Spitz here, and this is Feed Bandit, the Texas First Outdoors podcast. If you have ever been sitting perfectly still in a cold, frozen layout blind just as the first gray light of dawn starts to cut through the morning mist, you know that there is one specific sound that can make every single waterfowl hunter in the blind hold their breath. It isn't the high-pitched whistle of a teal or the cackle of a goose. It is that loud, resonant, and classic quack of a big winter duck dropping down through the oak trees. I am talking about the mallard, or what almost every single old-timer out here simply calls the greenhead. The mallard is the undisputed king of the flyways, a beautiful, heavy-bodied duck that serves as the absolute baseline for the entire waterfowling tradition across North America. The drakes are a sight to behold, sporting that brilliant, iridescent emerald green head, a crisp white collar, and a rich chestnut chest that shines like a new penny in the winter sun. But in recent years, folks all across the outdoor community have been talking about changing numbers, shifting migration routes, and how our changing weather patterns are affecting these magnificent birds. Today, we are going to dive deep into the real world of mallard conservation efforts and their current population trends. We will separate campfire rumors from biological facts, talk about why these ducks are changing their winter habits, and break down the exact technical tips, scouting skills, and habitat management choices you need to keep our waterfowl traditions thriving for generations to come. So, pull up a chair. We have a lot of sky to cover. To truly understand what is happening with the mallard today, you have to look past the boundaries of your own local hunting lease and look at the entire continent as one giant, interconnected ecosystem. Mallards are highly migratory birds, which means their life cycle depends on a massive highway in the sky that covers thousands of miles. During the spring and summer months, they raise their young far up north in what biologists call the prairie pothole region. A giant network of small wetlands, marshes, and grasslands that stretches across the northern plains of the United States and up into Canada. We call this area the duck factory of North America. When the summer pools are full of water and the grass is thick, the mallards can raise healthy, massive numbers of ducklings. But when the northern prairies suffer from severe droughts, or when those natural wetlands get drained and plowed under for concrete developments, the duck factory slows down, and the entire continental population takes a hard hit. In recent years, wildlife biologists have noticed that while general waterfowl numbers remain stable, mallards have faced some challenging population dips compared to the giant boom years of the past. Even more interesting is how their migration is changing. Because our winters down south have been getting milder and northern farmers are leaving more waste grain in their fields. Many mallards are choosing to stay up north much longer into the winter season, a habit folks call short stopping. If the northern ponds don't freeze over completely with thick ice, the greenheads have no biological reason to fly south to Texas, which is why our local coastal marshes and river bottoms see different flight patterns than they did 30 years ago. Let's do a technical deep dive into the outdoor strategies, water management rules, and conservation steps required to support these grand waterfowl populations. My first big tip for you is to focus completely on structural wetland reclamation and habitat enhancement on your own hunting property or local lease. Mallards do not want to sit in deep, barren livestock tanks or open lakes with steep, rocky banks where there is absolutely nothing to eat. They are dabbling ducks, which means they prefer shallow water, usually between 6 and 18 inches deep, where they can easily tilt their tails up into the air and reach down to the muddy bottom with their yellow beaks. If you manage a piece of ground, use simple dirt levees and water control structures to flood low-lying fields of smartweed, wild millet, and native sedges during the late autumn months. This creates a pristine, shallow buffet, packed with natural seeds and high-protein bugs that gives the migrating mallards the exact fuel they need to survive the cold winter weeks. My second tip is to master the art of natural movement and realistic restraint in your decoy spread. Because mallards are highly pressured by hunters from the minute they leave Canada, they become incredibly smart and easily spooked by the time they reach the southern states. If you set out a giant, rigid circle of fake plastic ducks that look completely frozen in the water, a wise flock of greenheads will spot the trick from a mile high and flare away instantly. Instead, use fewer decoys, perhaps just a dozen or two high-quality, fully flocked mallard decoys, and focus entirely on creating ripples on the water. Use a simple jerk string rig tied to 3 decoys, or a water-splashing motion machine to create constant, lifelike waves. The moving water makes the plastic decoys look alive, and creates a natural shine that tells the overhead ducks that the landing zone is safe and full of active buddies. My third tip is to match your duck calling strictly to the current mood and numbers of the incoming flock. A lot of folks get into a duck blind and start blowing their duck calls as loud and fast as they can, trying to mimic a high-amplitude hail call they saw in a video. But out in the real woods, loud screaming will often drive a wise old drake straight into the next county. When a flock of mallards is circling your pond, watch their body language with ultimate discipline. If their heads are high and they are flying straight past, give them a short, sharp 5-note comeback call to turn their attention. But the very second those ducks turn their wings and start dropping down toward your trees, put the loud call away. Switch to soft, content ground chuckles, gentle hen quacks, and feeding drake's whistles. Let the decoys and the natural water movement do the work, and never overcall when the birds are already committed to your zone. My fourth tip is to always use the correct non-toxic shot sizes and tight choke combinations for clean, ethical harvests. Under federal law, you cannot use old-school lead shot for waterfowl because it poisons the wetland environment. Instead, use high-quality steel, bismuth, or tungsten shells. For heavy-bodied winter mallards, a 3-inch shell loaded with number 2 or number 3 steel shot paired with a modified choke tube is the absolute sweet spot. This setup delivers a dense, powerful pattern of heavy pellets at 30 and 40 yards, ensuring a quick, humane harvest without wounding birds or leaving them to get lost in the thick marsh grass. Understanding and participating in waterfowl conservation is the absolute baseline of what it means to be a true sportsman and a proud Texian outdoorsman. The matchless flyway system we enjoy today didn't happen by accident. It exists because generations of hunters looked at the disappearing wetlands of the early 1900s and decided to open their own wallets to fund organizations like Ducks Unlimited and Delta Waterfowl. Preserving the tradition means looking past our own daily bag limits and taking responsibility for the entire life cycle of the birds, understanding that the work we do to protect a tiny pasture pothole down south helps keep the Great Sky Highway open all the way to the Arctic tundra. Protecting the legacy means passing down these strict hunting ethics, weapons safety rules, and calling skills to our sons and daughters, showing them that a true woodsman takes more pride in a clean, ethical retriever save and a well-managed marsh than they do in a giant pile of feathers on a truck tailgate. When we clean our ducks with total care, preserve the rich meat, and sit around the kitchen table with our family sharing stories of the cold morning flights, we are honoring the natural cycle of the world and keeping the independent frontier spirit of Texas alive and well. Manage your water with honor and keep your eyes locked on the winter skies. So, what do you think of that? Are we right on target, or did we totally miss the boat on that one? Email us at howdy@feedbandit.com and let us know either way. And don't forget to check us out at feedbandit.com and grab some gear to show off your Texas First Outdoors pride. Preserve the tradition, protect the legacy, And remember, always support your local feed store. If you're there for them, they'll be there for you when you need them the most out in the field. Stand tall, fellow Texian. We'll talk soon.